Hey folks, this is DcoHerent, and welcome to a regularly scheduled update. You may be thinking, a dry period of videos followed by a regularly scheduled update? This can't be good. And you're right, it's not. However, to make things a little lighter, I am also going to talk about some of the cool LEGO kits I have. The first two are actually not very easy to show on the camera. Hopefully future me has put them in here. They are the Saturn V booster, which is like 8 feet long, and then the Apollo Lander kit. It's just kind of behind some stuff, and I don't have a good way to get at it. They're both fantastic. Now, let's say that, for example, you were playing with maybe a rocket and drop it, and it explodes into a million pieces. Once you get all those pieces back together, it is so much fun to like reassemble the kit. The first time I did it, I only let myself do one of like the bag steps per day to kind of drag out that Lego-y goodness. But by the time you do the third or fourth time putting it together, forget it. Get all the stuff, sit down at the kitchen table, work for hours, and then you have a rocket again. It's really cool. So bad stuff in no particular order. So as I said, the observant viewer may have noticed that my posting has kind of dropped off a very steep cliff, and this was after there's been kind of this drawdown to like one per day. For the second, I honestly don't know what's going on. Like, these episodes, each one has become this like Herculean task. Like, it shouldn't take me 4 hours to edit a video, so I don't know what I'm doing. I've also been in a really bad bipolar 2 down phase. I'd wanted to try to adjust my meds to see if there's less stuff I could take in general, and it turns out that there is not. It's been a bad month and a half. I've never actually spent an entire day in bed before. So yeah, hopefully that'll improve soon. Legos, this is more cheerful. So I have a loader. I don't know how to make this look good on the screen. Probably I'll have to do an inset. It's super cool. Obviously it's an off-brand, but it's really neat. Like, the arms and stuff can all move in and out. The problem is every time I play with it, I knock the arms off because I do not have a class 2 rating. So, health. I'm assuming that all of you saw my spine. That was kind of cool. I've been going to PT here and there, and that's maybe helped something. My real concern is that the numbness in my right arm hasn't gone away. It's the first 3 fingers that are really the problem, and especially like my index finger. They all feel like, well, when something's numb, but my index finger is the worst, and also the pad on it hurts when I put pressure. So it's not like, I ever need to like put pressure on my index finger 18 hours a day. So that's not great. I'm gonna try to like power through it though, because I need to do stuff, and I'm kind of terrified that this is like permanent damage. Like, I don't know. Anyway, cheerful Legos. So I have a couple of kits that I haven't like put together yet. The thought was like I'll gate them behind doing things. Like, if I clear up the garage, I can put this together or whatever. That hasn't worked, so I'm just gonna start putting them together soon. There's 2 that I'm really excited about here. The first, of course, Optimus Prime. How can I get you on the camera? There we go. This is the coolest guy ever. Apparently, like, he can transform without being like taken apart, and I'm super excited about that. Also, Peter Cullen needs to narrate my life. If by some weird way Peter Cullen sees this video, I love you. You're awesome. And then the other huge one. Ugh, these are a lot heavier with one arm. Can I even get the Discovery on there? I don't know. Maybe it was on there. I'm really excited about the Discovery because as a kid growing up in the 80s, not only was I watching Transformers, so that, takes money right out of my wallet, but I was also super into space, and that meant, the STS. And so the space shuttle has always been like my rocket. Like, when I imagine a rocket, it's the space shuttle. And I know more about how they're built and operated than I would care to admit. They were not... It was not necessarily a great craft. No, it was bad in many ways. There were a lot of compromises made that you really wouldn't want to compromise on. What would be the most egregious ones? Solid rocket motors. So, when you have a liquid-fueled engine and it blows up, well, that's bad, but it's like an explosion like back there somewhere. Whereas solid rocket boosters are perfectly happy to unzip and explode everywhere all at once. Also, once you turn them on, that's it. You don't get to turn them off, so you better be ready for where those things are going to go. Having a sustainer engine, which is what was actually mounted inside the shuttle and fueled by the external tank. Sustainer engines are not a good idea. I'm not going to go through the energetics. There's much smarter people that will post about that. But it's a bad plan. I will say that the Space Shuttle Man engines, the RS-25s, they were absolute masterworks of technology, and they still are. We've only managed to reach some of these levels of efficiency recently, but they were just beautiful engines. They're really great. The shuttle mixed cargo and people. That's not really a great plan. You'd like to kind of optimize for one or the other. When you send up cargo, sometimes it explodes, and astronauts would rather go up in a ship that does not have cargo in it that might explode randomly at any time. They would prefer a notable lack of surprise explosions, so that wasn't great. And along with that, you took just a tremendous amount of dead weight up and down every time you launched. Thanks to the tyranny of the rocket equation, every little bit of mass in your ship has this multiplying effect on fuel and everything, so you want your craft to be as light as possible. The shuttle was awesome, but never lightweight. And I suppose I could add on the abort system too. There weren't a lot of survivable aborts. It was well known that the circle back around a landing site was ridiculous. That was not survivable. Over the Atlantic, maybe. Once around, maybe. But there really wasn't any way to abort the whole thing. So it was a little more exciting than we would have preferred. So the STS was a mess, but it was a beautiful mess. Like I said, they're always my spaceship, and it's one of the biggest regrets I probably have that I never actually got to see one fly. So well, anyway, back to stuff here. So you're thinking, geez, these are some pretty expensive kits, and I still have 3 more of them sitting back here. And that's true, because when I bought them, we were middle class. However, my wife had to permanently leave the workforce about a year ago. She had a good job, and that was kind of supporting all of her finances. And then the YouTube money pushed us into middle class, and then I could buy cool things like that. But after this last year, we burned through all of our savings. I have maxed out one credit card and we're perilously close to another. And in this entire time, I have done absolutely nothing to find a job. It's really a bad scene. Part of it is because I think I have this fear of rejection. Part of it's due to it slots neatly into my other mental health problems. There's executive dysfunction that's running in there, so it's not great. And my resume is just weird. I have a 20-year gap in there where I was the stay-at-home parent doing parent stuff. I don't know, like that. So, and before that was grad school, so I haven't worked in the private sector since 2002, and that was at Red Lobster. And my grad degrees aren't real useful because genomics has just exploded in the last decade and a half, and I don't know. So I'm just like some guy, middle-aged-ish. YouTube's the only thing that I feel like I've really been good at in kind of a long time. So with the economic shifting around our house, and the YouTube stream not being enough to keep things going, it's been bad. All our money's gone. We're on the absolute knife edge of disaster. I have no idea what's going to happen, but it is going to be bad. So, Lego. Let's see here. The ISS. Hooray for the ISS. Amazing. I always like this, even though it's not very efficient. And it's actually, once again, kind of a compromised design. So, when the Soviet Union fell apart, we really didn't want all of the Russia's rocket scientists to go off and build rockets for less friendly nations, so we wanted to keep them employed. So we collaborated on the space station, and it's tilted at a very steep orbit, which is not great energetically, but we had to so that the Soyuz rockets could meet it, or could take astronauts up. So, once again, non-optimal. On the plus side, the whole rocket engineers stay in Russia thing actually did work out pretty well for a long time. Their space program has been kind of crumbling for many years. It turns out you get better rockets if you pay your workers. I suspect that after the ISS is disorbited, the rest of their space program is just going to disintegrate and be done. So we'll see. Yeah. So, rovers. Who could forget rovers? Did you know that Mars is the only planet in the solar system that's populated entirely by robots? It's true. Ask any robot. So, I have... Oh no, where'd you go? Ugh. Neat. Perseverance kit. Probably future me's putting better like images of these up. Oop, just knocked a bunch of shit over. These various things are amazing. That one's actually kind of exciting because it's Technics, which means it gives you kind of a much larger space to like play in. It's a terrible pun. I have no criticism about rovers or frankly any science package that like NASA's ever put together. They kind of suck at the whole rocket thing, but by God, their scientific equipment is amazing. I mean, Perseverance was just like lowered to the surface by a rocket crane, which is apparently a thing we do these days. Yeah, and we stuck a little like toy drone on the bottom to kind of appeal to the kids or something. But then Ingenuity was supposed to do 5 flights, and instead it did 72. That's about right for NASA. It was a tremendous resource for the Perseverance program and general. If you remember the Opportunity rover, it was supposed to last 90 days, and instead it lasted 14 and a half years. So, I throw no shade at them whatsoever. They make really good stuff. So video releases are going to still be a bit choppy. I'm still getting used to like the discomfort of sitting here. I actually had to take all the cushions and stuff off here to make it more useful. But you know, I gotta kind of power through this and get stuff done. I do finally have an appointment with neurosurgery coming up on the 31st, so they'll take a look at my neck and then we'll know more about the long term. I'm really afraid that a lot of this stuff is permanent damage, so hopefully they'll be more reassuring than that. And believe me, it is driving me up the wall here that I can't record because, as I've said many times, you know, I don't pre-record anything, so you guys know, you know, as much as I do. And I know that you guys can kind of hate on me a little bit from this side of the screen. And yes, I can see you. Put that down. But it drives me just up the wall because it's my fault that I'm not playing my games. So, So that's about the news for our regularly scheduled update. Sorry it wasn't more positive, given that we're teetering on the knife edge of disaster in so many different directions. But, well, it is what it is, right? So, on that solemn note, we're going to sign off here. As always, go find some toys to play with, and I'll see you next time.